Hello, today we're going to be doing a lesson on powers of 10. Our math message that we're going to begin with involves your SRB that of course I know that you don't have with you, but I want you to just listen and watch. In your SRB there is the World Tour section, and if you were to look in that section and try to find the largest number that you can possibly find in that section, it would look something like this. It's going to be on page 271, and it's going to look like this: 6 6/10 times 10 to the 21st power. Ooh, what does that mean exactly? Well, if we take 6 6/10 times 10 to the 21st power, it would look like this. Wow, right? That is a really big number. We usually don't use numbers that look like that very much. But if we were going to say that number, notice all of these place values that I've filled in that you probably have not seen before. Thousands you've seen, millions, billions, trillion you've probably heard of. But as we get down farther to the left, we've got quadrillion, quintillion, and sextillion. Okay, so how would we say this number? We would say 6 sextillion, 600 quintillion. That's a really, really big number. And we usually write this in what's called scientific notation, which is what you see there at the bottom, because who has room to write that on a piece of paper if they're doing a math problem, right? Okay, so that brings us to talk about a page that you're going to be working on in your SMJ this week. And you'll notice that I've got place value up at the top of my page. I've got my millions, my 100,000s, my 10,000s, my thousands, my hundreds, my tens, and my ones. And on the left side, I have the number 1 million. And as I'm going across trying to fill in those blanks, we're going to write the standard numbers in row 1. So that's our row 1, and you'll see that they filled in the 1 million for us, and I have filled in 100,000, and as we go across we're going to fill in 10,000, and then they filled in the 1,000 and 100 for us. We're going to fill in 10, and they filled in the 1. Now if we look at number 2 at the bottom, it says in row 2 write the value of each place to show that it is 10 times the value of the place to its right. So when we look in the millions column for that second row, notice that they wrote 10 100,000s. So that means there would be 10 of 100,000s for us to equal 1 million. Let you think about that for a second. Okay, 10 100,000s is equal to 1 million up there at the top. So when we go to the next box, we have 100,000. So how many tens would it take to make 100,000? Okay, it would take 10 10,000s to make 100,000. So think about that for a minute. That means what? 10 times 10,000? Does that give us 100,000? It does, because if we use our extended multiplication, we take our 1 times our 1, we get 1, of course, and then count how many zeros you have, and that is the number of zeros that we have in 100,000. Okay, what about the next one? We have 10,000. So we're going to take 10 times what to get 10,000? We're going to take 10 times 1,000, or there will be 10,000s if we were going to add them all together. They did the hundreds for us. That would be 10, or I'm sorry, they did the thousands for us. So 10 100s is going to equal 1,000. And we go to the hundreds column, 10 tens is going to equal 100. And then if we go to the tens column, it's just going to be 10 ones would equal 10. And then the ones column, if we want to equal 1, we actually would be in decimals, right? So we would be adding tenths to equal 1 whole. So there would be 10 tenths to equal 1 whole. All right, so when we get down to the next row, in row 3, we're going to write the place value as a product of tens. So let's look at the examples that they did for us. In the 10,000s column, they wrote 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. If we take 10 times 10, we get 100, right? 100 times 10 gives us what? 1,000. 1,000 times 10 gives us our 10,000. Okay, if we look at the hundreds, they have 10 times 10, which gives us 100. So we're going to go back to the first one in the millions. And how many tens would we multiply to get 1 million? We would multiply 10 6 times. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Okay, what about 100,000? We would multiply 10 times 10 5 times. So notice if I start at the left, I'm doing 6 tens. My next column to the right is 5 tens. The next column is 4 tens. What do you think this next column is going to be? If you said 3 tens, you're correct. So to equal 1,000, we would do 10 times 10 times 10. They did our hundreds for us, which was 2 tens, and then the tens column, it's just going to be 10. Now notice in the ones column, we have a blue box. There's nothing there, because there's nothing that we can multiply times 10 to equal 1. Okay? All right, that brings us down to the last row. And in this row, we're going to show the values as powers of 10, and we're going to use exponents. Now remember our order of operations, PEMDAS? And we talked about exponents, but we haven't really used them yet. Well, guess what? You get to use them today. So if we look at our first column in the millions, we would write 10 to the 6th power. And what that means is 10 times 10 6 times, which is what we wrote in the box above. If you look at the next column, they already filled that in as 10 to the 5th power, because we're taking 10 times 10 5 times. So what do you think is going to go in the next column? If you said 10 to the 4th power, you would be correct. And notice they've done 10 to the 3rd for us and 10 to the 2nd. What are we going to write in that last column? 10 to the 1st. Okay, because we don't really, it's just 10. All right, we don't really have to multiply it, because if we took it 10 times 10, that would be 100, and we just need the number 10, so it's just 10. Okay, now you're going to do this in class, and I went ahead and went through it on the video so you could see it once, and then you're going to practice it again, so we'll see what you remember in class. All right, we do have some vocabulary. Powers of 10, and those are the numbers like 100, 1,000, 10,000. Okay, those are all powers of 10. An exponent tells how many times 10 is used as a factor, like 10 to the 6th power. Okay, to summarize what we've done today, we learned that numbers can get quite large, as we saw from our math message today, and that very, very large number. We learned that the value of each place is 10 times the value of the place to its right. And instead of repeating the factor 10, we can use exponents, so it's kind of a shortcut. So write down any questions that you have to bring to class, and I will do my best to help you with that. And I look forward to seeing you. Thanks for watching.